So is there really any difference in cordless hot glue guns? Let's take a look at some of the test data, and then I'll come back and we'll individually take a look at each one of these and go from there. So yeah, if you buy it in a kit, you're gonna get the cheapest, most basic charger. So the charge times here are definitely not the greatest. So the charts will also have data from the original test video, and I'll leave a link to that below, for the 305, the Heart, the Dremel, and the Worksite there. But overall, when we look at this chart, the majority of them, even with the most basic charger, do it in about an hour, with the worst being that Dremel, Worksite, and, well, the Works. Preheat time, so how fast this actually does come up to temp that we can use it. Now, the majority of these do have an indicator of telling you when it's ready to go. So in this case, with the Ridgid here, that LED will go solid. The green works, this LED will go green. The P307 will go from red to green. The Works will go from red to green. And the Bauer here will go from red to green. Now, the SureBonder does have an LED telling you that it's on, but this stays lit red all the time, so there's no indicator of when it's ready. I basically went off of how long before a stream of glue did come out of the gun. Same thing here with this new PCL 921. You just have a red LED telling you it's on. And here with the P306. So when we do take a look at that preheat time, so the Dremel and the FVH56 are first and second. Yeah, they use that smaller glue stick. And on the opposite end, the Worksite, the Ridgid on high here, and the Heart. So max glue temp, I let each of them warm up, and then I went ahead and dispensed about half a stick, and that's what I ended up with. Again, the P307 on high is right up there with the new Ridgid, the only one actually beating it. Now I did push one complete glue stick through each of these, and here you can see how long it actually took. With the P306 and the FVH56 there, again, these are using those small little sticks coming in first and second, followed by the Ridgid here on high. And the worst being the Worksite, SureBonder, and Greenworks. So I figured I'd try a new method out for testing, especially in this case, looking at watts. So how much power the actual tool is drawing. Now I do have a amp meter here in line, so we can look at how many amps it is actually drawing. So let's go ahead and turn it on. Go all the way up to high. So you can see those watts peak at about 211 there, and now it's slowly dropping off. So what's interesting is some of these actually would go ahead and completely shut off power draw once they came up to temp, whereas the cheaper ones would just keep going, drawing wattage all the time. So on this table you see that max watts. So right when the heat gun is turned on, that is the max draw. And then the continuous watts here in green, those are the guns that stabilized and just held a wattage. Now, if you were putting glue sticks through them, they would come up typically about 10 watts, but then fall back to that continuous running watts number. Whereas the ones in red here, that was the wattage where they would shut off. Now, when there would be a draw though, so say you're running a glue stick the watts could climb all the way up near that max draw number to bring the temp back up rapidly. Whereas again, the ones in green, they would peak on startup, drop down to that wattage, and stay at that wattage even though you were putting glue through the gun. So definitely something interesting here, performance-wise, on how some will draw a continuous wattage where others here will actually vary that wattage depending on, well, load in this case from going through glue sticks. And there you have it, around that 37 watts. She dropped right into standby mode. Now if we actually do use the gun here, as you've seen, the watts there picked right back up after we started using the gun. All right, let's talk about the two here that use these mini glue sticks. The newest here being this pen style, which is on that 4-volt line. Now I will say I had high hopes for this. I do like that small rotary tool, but this, not so much. I kind of find it a bit awkward to hold. And unlike the Dremel, which has the button here up on top where you would be using it like so, here you've kind of got to grasp it on the side so you can push these paddles down. In this case, they made it so you can use it left hand or right hand. But the problem is, at least for me, you can see that starts to angle and it takes a bit of force to use if you're actually wanting to continuously feed hot glue. Now if you let it sit for a few seconds and you're just doing a little dab of glue, you know, it's not too bad. But if you're wanting to put a lot of glue through this, yeah, it's a little bit awkward. I mean, you can use 2 fingers there to get more force, but then it's a little bit weird to hold at that point. Versus also two-handed, but then you can't hold whatever you're trying to glue. Now, I will say I do like the LED indicator where when it first starts up, it is flashing for that roughly 25 or so seconds there, and then it goes solid when it's ready to use. And that USB platform where the battery is removable out the back here. And another thing to mention, yes, it does come with this nice little stand, so you can easily set it back down. But again, I still prefer this P306 over the new pen and over the Dremel. Because here you have a power station. When you need to glue something, you lift it off the power station, you glue for a little bit, boom, set it back on the power station, let it warm up, good to go. One thing we do have to mention also here is larger batteries. From the wattage, we know maximum wattage draw out of any of these is going to be around 200. So using higher performance won't really gain you much in regards to performance on how hot the glue is. The only thing you're really going to gain is runtime. Now, talking about the rest here, personally I'd stay away from the Greenworks. Yes, it had decent temp, but after it got heated up, those watts dropped right off and it held there. And you can see how long it took to dispense one actual glue stick was downright horrible. If this is something you're going to enter in with, I wouldn't go with a Greenworks glue gun. Almost the same scenario here with the Works. Didn't really care for the performance. Charge time was horrible with that charger, so I'd be wanting to upgrade that charger. SureBonder, middle of the road. I mean, it did all right for the price. I will give it that. And I will say, yeah, they have an adapter for DeWalt and Milwaukee. You know, you're going to see around the similar performance range there. I really wish the LED on the back here told you when it was ready to go, but, you know, that's not really a big deal. But if you're looking for a cheap, decent hot glue gun, definitely something to consider. Now the new Ryobi PCL 921, decent performance, pretty much on par there with that 305. I would say, if I remember correctly, that one would have been a little bit longer. So that's one thing, you know, the benefit of this does have. But for the $40 they want for this, right now you can pick up that older P305 for around 20 bucks. So I think personally you go with that over this for the price. Now the best value all day, I'm going to tell you, is the Bauer there. Yes, right now you can get that Ryobi for around 20 bucks, which is what you could pick the Bauer up for. But once they're out of those, I don't think you're going to see that again. So if you're looking for a good budget performer, 20 bucks will get you a pretty good hot glue gun here. So again, the P307 is right there at the top with the Ridgid here, just barely beating it performance-wise. Now the Ryobi is $20 cheaper than the Ridgid here, with the Ridgid coming in at $80, which is definitely pretty expensive for a hot glue gun. Both come with a flat tip and an extended tip. Again, on the side you have your switch here for high, and then there's that low with the LED right here. There is this drop down tray, which is nice to kind of catch runoff there of glue. And overall, this is the one I've been using a little bit here and there, and yeah, seems to work pretty well. Now the new Ridgid on the market has a few more additional tricks. Here you have a push button there to select between low, medium, high, and off. On the front, there is a little LED light you can turn on and off as well. But one weird thing about this is you can basically adjust the trigger pull. So here it's in the max. If you turn this, you can see it moves the puller and your trigger stroke has been reduced. So you have a shorter trigger pull versus a much longer trigger pull. So yes, there's some downsides. The Ridgid is more expensive, the Ridgid is longer, but you get some of those additional features by 3 heat modes with the adjustment there of the travel of the trigger. Honestly, I think if you own one or the other platforms, you should go with the one that you own the platform for. But if you own neither, then that's more of a question of which platform you really want to get into. I really don't think the hot glue gun is the thing that is going to determine that. You need to look at other tools in each of the lines. But here we have some additional data if you're still wanting to try to decide which way to go here. So the model, MSRP kit, weight with battery, and the warranty. So there you have it. Hopefully you found this video useful. We're definitely going to be using this little guy in the future. It's going to come in handy, I think, on the dyno there, where we can put a consistent load and see the actual amp draw and give us the watts it's pulling. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.